Welcome to Exec Class Hub. We are looking at the overview of reproductive system of human. Now, let's begin with the male reproductive system. The male what? Reproductive system. Okay. The male reproductive system. The system is used for the production of sperm. The system is used for the production of sperm. The system is used to release sperm, to release what? Semen into the vaginal tract. Vaginal what? Tract of females. So we are looking at the function of the male reproductive system. The male reproductive system helps in production of sperm by a process called spermatogenesis, and it helps to release sperm to the vaginal tract during copulation. During what? Copulation, which we call the sexual intercourse. So that is the functions of the male reproductive system. Now, the male reproductive system is grouped into two parts. We have the external parts, which is called the external genital part, and the internal genital part. The external genital parts are parts seen outside, like these spongy parts. The spongy part is called the penis. The penis, and this part is called the scrotum. The scrotum sac. The scrotum sac is an external genital part because it is the part found outside the male reproductive system. The penis and what? The scrotum sac. The tip of the penis is called the glans penis. What I call it? The glans what? Penis. So these are the external genital parts of male reproductive system. Now, the internal genital parts are the parts found inside the male reproductive system. The internal genital part begins, let's start with the testis. The testis. In the testis is made up of coiled convoluted tubules. It's made up of what? Coiled convoluted tubules. Now let's look at the lobes in the testis. Let's draw the lobes of the testis. Okay. These lobes of the testis contains what? Convoluted tubules. The convoluted tubules that is found here, the convoluted tubule is called what? The seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules is a convoluted tubules that is found there. Now, the testis is made up of lobes, so each lobe has seminiferous tubules, coiled tubules, which is what now? Convoluted. Convoluted. These tubules is seminiferous tubules, and it helps in sperm production. Now, the seminiferous tubules is found in the testis, and this part is made up of two cells. Is made up of a cell called Sertoli cells. Sertoli what? Cells. And is made up of what is called what now? The Leydig cells. Don't forget. Now, I said earlier that the seminiferous tubules are coiled tubules found in the testis, and I said that the testis, this is a testis here. The testis is made up of lobes or tubules, coiled tubules. You understand? But the tubules is called seminiferous tubules. So each lobes in the testis contain the seminiferous tubules. So the seminiferous tubules now contain two cells, which are Sertoli cells and the Leydig cells. Sertoli cells and the Leydig cells. Now, let's start with the internal genital part of male reproductive system, which let's begin with the testis. You know, testis is one of the internal genital parts. We have the testis, seminiferous tubules, the epididymis, the sperm ducts, which is called vasa deferentis, the glands such as the seminal vesicles, prostrate gland, the Cowper's glands, and we have what now? The ureter. The ureter, which propel what? Which helps in passing cement and helps in passing out urine during what now? Urination. So now let's begin with this part, which is the testis. Now, the work of testis is that testis is a coil. I said is what? A coil tubus, which contains lobes. Each lobes is made up of what is called seminiferous tubus. Seminiferous what? Tubus. You understand? So the work of seminiferous tubus is that seminiferous tubus produce what is called sperm cells. Sperm what? Cells. By a process called spermatogenesis. Now, the seminiferous tubules, as I said earlier, are made up of two cells. As I said, the cells include what? Sertoli cells, and the Leydig cells. And what? The Leydig cells. Now, the Sertoli cells helps in the production of the Sertoli cells produce what? Testosterone. Why the Leydig cell produce what? Androgen what? Binding what? Proteins. Androgen binding what? Proteins. So the Sertoli cells and the androgen binding protein fuse together to produce what is called what now? Sperm production. Sperm what? They helps in the sperm production, and the process of sperm production is called the spermatogenesis. Let me recall what I'm saying. I said the seminiferous tubules are coil tubules that are found in the lobus of the testes, and that seminiferous tubules contain two cells. The first cell is the Sertoli cells and the Leydig cells. Sertoli cells and the Leydig cells. Now let's go back to, if you look at the pituitary glands and the pituitary glands and the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus stimulates the pituitary glands. You understand? So the pituitary glands produces what is called the anterior part of pituitary gland, because pituitary gland is made up of two lobes, the anterior lobe and the what? Posterior lobe. Anterior lobe, which is called adenohypophysis, and the what? Posterior lobe, which is called the neurohypophysis. Now, the adenohypophysis or the anterior lobe produce an hormone called the gonadotrophins. Gonadotrophin stimulating hormones. The gonadotrophins. The gonadotrophin stimulating hormones. Stimulating hormones. So the gonadotrophin stimulating hormones are of two types. We have the LH, the luteinizing hormone, and FSH. The FSH is a follicle stimulating hormone. The LH is a luteinizing hormones. They are called gonadotropin stimulating hormones. I told you that the what? Hypothalamus produces gonadotropins releasing hormones. The gonadotropins releasing hormones stimulate the anterior pituitary gland to produce gonadotropin stimulating hormones. And there are two types of gonadotropin stimulating hormones, which are the luteinizing hormones and the follicle stimulating hormones. So the luteinizing hormones helps to stimulate what now? The luteinizing hormones stimulate the Leydig cells. Stimulate what? The Leydig cell to produce what is called androgen binding proteins. While what? Follicle stimulating hormones stimulate the Sertoli cells to produce what? Testosterone. Let me repeat myself again. The luteinizing hormones stimulate the Leydig cells to produce androgen binding proteins, while the follicle stimulating hormones from the anterior pituitary gland gets to the testes to stimulate the Sertoli cells found in the what now? In the seminiferous tubules to produce testosterone. Okay, so the testosterone and the androgen binding proteins helps in what now? Sperm production. Helps in the what? In the production of what? Of sperm. Now, so the first thing we talk about is the what? The testes. So we all know that the testes produce what? It helps in sperm production. Sperm what? Production. That's one of the functions of testes. Functions of testes. It helps in sperm production. by a process called spermatogenesis. And these two cells that initiate this are Sertoli cells and the Leydig cells. And what the Leydig cells are the cells that brings about the production of sperm. Okay, now after that, immediately after the seminiferous tubules, we have another single tube here. That single tube is, the single tube here is called epididymis. Epi what? Didymis. Now, epididymis, functions of the epididymis is that epi what? Epididymis stores sperm and mature sperm and helps in maturation of what? Sperm. Epididymis is a place where sperm, epididymis is what? The place where sperm stores and mature. And sperm stores here for how many days? 72 days. So epididymis stores sperm and mature the sperm for how many days? 72 days. After that, the sperm moves to, don't forget, we start from what? The testes. From the testes, we have what now? Seminiferous tubules. After that, after the seminiferous tubules, we now move to what? The epididymis. Didymis. So this produce sperm. This stores sperm for 72 days. Storage and mature sperm for what? 72 days. So we now know the functions of seminiferous tubules. We know the functions of what? Epididymis right now. So after that, this mature sperm passes through what is called the sperm duct. The sperm duct, which can also be called vas deferens, which is the sperm duct. So the sperm duct just helps to what? It helps to transport sperm. It helps to transport what? Sperm. So it transports sperm down. Look at the movement, from the epididymis. It passes through what now? Another tubes called the sperm duct and goes to what is called, this part is called seminal vesicles. Seminal what? Vesicles. The seminal vesicles helps to produce. So after this, we have seminal vesicles. Seminal what? Vesicles. Seminal vesicles. So seminal vesicles helps to produce a fluid called seminal fluid. Seminal what? Fluids. Take note. It produces a fluid called seminal fluid. Mind you, this fluid is made up of carbohydrate called the fructose. Guys, I'm warning you guys, take what? Fructose. Because this fructose helps to what? Energize the sperm. Because sperm needs to swim into the vaginal tract during what? Ejaculations. Now, the seminal fluid is produced from the seminal vesicles, and the seminal fluid contains fructose. The seminal fluid mixed with the sperm. So the combination of the seminal fluid this combination of the seminal fluid and the sperm forms what is called the semens. Known as what? Let me recall myself. The seminal fluid is the ancestry part. The seminal vesicles are the ancestry parts of male reproductive system. They produce seminal what? Fluids, and this fluid produce what is called seminal fluid mixed with sperm to form the semens. Guys, we release semens. We don't release what? Sperm. Now, and I said the seminal fluid is made up of fructose. Fructose is a carbohydrate, the food of sperm, because it is the fructose that will give the sperm energy to swim. Okay. Now, from that place, we have what is called ejaculatory duct. Yeah, the ejaculatory duct. Ejaculatory duct. So this ejaculatory duct helps to what? Pass the sperm, the semen, and pass it through a pipe here. The single pipe here is a single pipe. That single pipe is called, the single pipe is called ureter. Urethra, sorry. It's called what now? The urethra. So the urethra helps to pass out what? Pass out the semen. It helps to pass out semen during ejaculation. So that is the functions, that is the overview of what? Of the male reproductive system. Now, the external genital part of the male reproductive system, I said earlier, is the penis and what? Scrotum sac. Now, the function of the penis is urinogenital in function. Urinogenital in functions. If I say urinogenital, it passes out urine and it helps in passing out semen into the vagina of the female. And the penis is a spongy tissue and it's always erect. The erection of penis allows penis to penetrate into the vagina of a female, so it can be able to release sperm. And there are some nervous systems that are responsible for the erection of penis, which is parasympathetic nervous system and what now? The sympathetic what? Nervous system. Parasympathetic and what? Sympathetic nervous system helps in what now? In the what? Erection of penis and turgidity of penis and flaccidity of what? Of the penis. So the work of the penis is to introduce sperm, semen into the vaginal tract of female, and it must get turgid, it must erect before it can penetrate into what? The female reproductive what? System. So this is just the overview of what? Of male reproductive system. Now let us move to the female reproductive what? System. We are done with the male reproductive system. So now let's look at the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system is made up of two parts. We have the external genital parts, the external genital parts of the female reproductive system, and we have what now? The internal genital parts of the female reproductive system. Now, this diagram shows here, the diagram here shows what now? This diagram shows the external genital parts. So the external genital part of female reproductive system is made up of the clitoris. The clitoris, this is very sensitive to female because it contains sensory neurons and it contains what is called the vulva. The what? The vulva. The vulva is also the external genital part of female reproductive system. There is this part that has air. This part is called the mons what? Mons pubis, which Yoruba call ishuobo. You understand? But it is a swollen part of the female. It is a swollen part of the female that contains what is called the pubic hair. This is what now? The pubic what? The pubic hair. So the swollen part is called the mons pubis. So we have the clitoris. I said the clitoris contains a lot of sensory neurons. Sensory what? Neurons, which excite the female during sexual intercourse. Now we have the vulva. The vulva is grouped into two. We have the big vulva called the labia majora, and the labia what? Labia minora. The labia minora is said to be the inner parts, the inner layer of the vulva. The outside one is the labia majora. Okay, now let us look at the opening of the vagina of the reproductive system. The first part is, this one is said to be the urethra opening, urethra orifice. Okay, the function of the urethra orifice does not have any connection with reproductive system. Urethra orifice helps in passing urine. Is it clear? It's an entrance where urine pass out from. And we have another entrance here This is actually the vaginal orifice. The vaginal what? Orifice. The vaginal orifice is what? The entrance of what? Vagina. So female has two opening, the urethral orifice, which pass out urine, and the vaginal what? Orifice. Vaginal orifice is what? The entrance of what? Of the vagina. So, and we talk about the clitoris. So the external genital parts are grouped into the clitoris and what? The labia, which is called the vulva. The labia, the word labia means lip. From lip means labia. So the vagina has two swelling. The swollen part look like mouth. So that's why it's called labia. So the swollen part is a majora. When you open the swollen part, you see another layer inside, which is reddish and it's thin. The one outside is what? It contains a lot of fat. It is swollen. The one inside is reddish. It is not swollen. That one is thin. That is called the labia minora. So the labia minora enters to form the vaginal orifice. So we've talked about the functions of the clitoris, excite the female during sexual intercourse. The vulva permits penis to penetrate into the vagina. So we've talked about the vulva permit penis to enter the vagina orifice, and the clitoris excites females during sexual intercourse. It helps to stimulate them. Okay, so we are done with the external genital parts of female reproductive system. Now let us look at this diagram. Shows the internal genital parts of female reproductive system. Vagina is actually very rough. The rough part of vagina is called, look at this point here, this rough part is called the vagina rugae. Vagina what? The rugae. Now this vagina, this from here to this place, this from here to here is called the vagina. Vagina is very long. It's very what? Long. It's actually like 12 centimeter long. 12 centimeter long. So from here to here is what? The vagina. Vagina is said to be inside internal genital parts. So there's a neck here. This part is called the neck. The neck of the vagina that separates the vagina from the womb. This is actually the womb. This is actually the womb. Other name is called the uterus. So the neck of the vagina is called cervical or cervix. Cervix is the neck of the vagina. So the cervix separates the vagina from the womb. So it is called cervical. The word neck, cervix. The neck of the vagina is called the cervix. So the womb. Let's move to the womb. The womb. The surface of the womb, the inner surface of the womb is called the endometrium. Endo what? What? Metrium. So why the inner part of the womb is called the what? The what? Myometrium. Hold on. I need to clear here. Let me repeat myself again. The inner and the endometrium, this is what? The muscular part of the womb is called myometrium. The inner part of the womb is called endometrium. This is the lining of endometrium. It's called endometrium lining. You understand? This is what prepares. This lining prepares implantation. So the lining prepared. So zygote enters the lining. You understand? During implantation. Okay. So we talk about the vagina. Vagina house. The function of the vagina is that it helps in passage of what? Passage of baby fetus. Sorry, passage of fetus during delivery. During what? Delivery. Yeah, that's function of vagina. Number two is that vagina permits penis. Permits what? Penis to penetrate, so the penis will be able to release sperm, semens into the vagina, female reproductive tract. Another function is that it helps to pass out menses. You know menses? Menses, that is the blood that comes out during menstruation. So vagina helps to pass it out. And mind you, there's something I want you to know about this vagina. Vagina is very acidic. It's very what? acidic because the acid in vagina is actually called lactic acid. Lactic what? Acid. So girls, be careful. Licking your vagina is very disastrous. Licking vagina would make the pH of the acid to be very low, and it can make you to have infection. And although it's not, and another warning is that females should not wash inside the vagina using soap. It can interfere with what now? The pH of what? Of the vagina. Another thing which you need to know about this vagina is that when it's too acidic, it can kill sperm. Although sperm comes with alkaline nature, so it can be able to neutralize the acidity content of the vagina. So we've talked about the functions of the vagina: passage of fetus during delivery, permit penis to enter during sexual intercourse, and pass out what? Menses, and helps in what? Ovulation. Pass out what? Ovulation. And we'll talk about the second part is the womb. The womb is a place where the fetus grows for 9 months, where the baby actually grows from 9 what? Months. This is said to, that's the function of what? Of the what? Womb. It helps to grow the what? Fetus during a pregnancy, and it's a point where implantation takes place. Implantation takes place in the uterus. Another part you need to know is this part is called, this part is the what? The fallopian tube. Fallopian tube. Other name is what? The oviduct. Fallopian tube or the oviduct. The function of the fallopian tube is that it helps, this is a point that helps in passage of what? A passage of semen to the ampulla. This point is the ampulla. Ampulla is where fertilization occurs. So it helps sperm swims and pass through the fallopian tube, which can also be called the oviduct. You understand? Ampulla. So another function of the fallopian tube is that it helps, fertilization takes place in the fallopian tube, and it helps to pass out fertilized egg. It helps to move fertilized egg to the what? To the womb. Now, if you now look at the fallopian tube has a particular part here. This part is called fimbriae. And another part here, this is called infibulum. Now, the fimbriae helps to pass out, this is the ovary. Don't forget that this part is the ovary. You understand? So the work of the ovary helps to produce eggs. So if egg produce in the Graafian follicles, the egg leave the Graafian follicles, and the work of the fimbriae, is just like a thread-like substance, is to sweep egg to the what? To the infibulum, to the ampulla. So the egg will be here at the ampulla, because ampulla is a point where fertilization occurs. So the sperm comes here to fertilize the egg at the point called what? The ampulla. So I've given you the functions of fallopian tube. Fallopian tube helps in fertilization, takes place in the fallopian tube, and it helps to move fertilized egg, which is a zygote, to the what? To the womb. So that is, now let's move to the last one, which is the ovary. Ovary is a female reproductive organs that helps to, the functions of the ovary is that the ovaries helps to produce what? Produce eggs cells by process called oogenesis. And it helps to produce what? It helps to produce progesterone, and it helps to produce what now? Estrogen. Estrogen, getting instruction from the what? From the pituitary gland and the gonadotropin stimulating hormones, which are the gonadotropin stimulating hormones, which are the luteinizing hormones, and the follicle stimulating hormones stimulate the ovaries to release these hormones, progesterone and estrogen. progesterone and what? Estrogen. Another function, I've given you the two functions of the ovaries. Ovaries produces what? Eggs by process called oogenesis, while it produces hormones, which are progesterones and what? The estrogen. So this is the end of what now? Of the topic, the female reproductive what? System. So we are done with the topics of female reproductive system. Let's continue with plant reproduction. The reproductive structure or system of a plant is called flower. Flower is the reproductive structures of plants. So this is a flower, which is the reproductive structure of plants. Flower is made up of the floral parts. The floral parts of flower are two parts. We have the essential part. The essential part. Two, there is what? Non-essential part. The essential parts. Now, normally, the parts of flower are the sepals. There is the petals. And we have what now? The pistils, which are the carpels. And what? The stamen. These are the four parts, the four floral parts of flower. The four what? Four floral parts of flower. Now, I told you that plants is grouped into two what? Two floral parts. And here I said it's four floral parts. The sepals and petals are what? The non-essential parts. Essential parts of flower. Now, the what now? The pistils and the carpels and the stamen are what? The essential parts. The essential what? Parts of flower. Why are these called the essential parts? Is that they helps in reproduction. They helps in what? In reproduction, because it helps in the purpose of reproduction. That is why they are what? Called the essential parts, because their purpose is for what? Reproduction. Why the non-essential parts are not meant for reproduction? These sepals can also be called the calyx. Why collectively petals can also be called what? Corolla. The collection of the collectively stamen can also be called androecium. Collectively, pistils can also be called what? The gymnasium. Okay. Now, this is what attached to the stem. It's called the stalk. This part of flower is called what now? This is the what? The petals. No, sorry. This part is called the sepals. Sepals can also collectively called the calyx. This is a part of flower that it's green. The photosynthetic part, that is, it contains chloroplasts, and that part is green. What makes it to be green is because it has chloroplasts. It is called what? Sepals. Sepals can be free. It is called what? Gamosepalous. And we have what? The sepalous as well now. The free what? Sepals. Gamosepalous fused. Gamosepalous is what? Fused sepals. Polysepalous is the free sepals. Okay? This part of a flower is called the what? The petals. Petals is a part of flower that is highly conspicuous. Conspicuous, that is, it's eye-catching. It is the parts of flower that attract insect pollinator. Attract what? Insect pollinator. So that is what petals. Petals is a part of its what? The eye-catching part of what? Of plants. Eye-catching means it attracts plants. It attracts the insect pollinators. So if petals is free, it is called polypetalous. If petals is fused, it is called gamopetalous. Okay, so the functions of the sepals, which I've not really talked about, I say it is a part of a flower that protect the innermost wool of a flower. Innermost wool of a flower. During what bud stage, it protects the innermost wool of a flower during what bud stage. That is the functions of what now? The sepals. Function of the petals is that it is the part of a flower that attracts insects for pollination to occur. So that's why these petals can either be red, it can be what? Yellow. You understand? It can be what now? Pink. It can be what? In form of purple. So the color of what? Petals can either be red, yellow, pink, or purple. So that color attracts insects. Do you understand? So insect comes in and insect eats in what? It helps in what now? Pollination. So that's why I said it is the eye-catching part of what flower. Now, the essential parts of flowers, which includes what? The stamen and the what? Carpels. This is the male reproductive organ. Male what? Reproductive organs of flower. Carpels is what? The female what? Reproductive organ. The female reproductive organs. The female reproductive what? Organs. Are you there? Now, the stamen, like this is the stamen here. There's a stamen. The stamen has the tip of a stamen is called anther. It's the anther. What holds the anther in place is what? Filament. So the anther is the tip of what? Okay, let's assume you have the stamen to be like this. So stamen, the tip of the stamen is the anther. Anther with what? Filament. Filament is what holds the anther in place. Now, the anther contains the pollen grain. Pollen what? Pollen grains. And pollen grains is the male reproductive gametes. Male reproductive gametes of a plant is pollen grain that contains haploid number of chromosomes. Haploid what? No, if I say haploid, half number of chromosomes. So the filament hold the anther in place. So the anther contains what? The pollen grains, and the pollen grains is the male reproductive sex cells of a plant, which helps to fertilize the female's ovary during fertilization. The next one is this. This part, this is said to be, hold on. This is the ovary. This is what now? The female reproductive organ called the carpels. Carpels is made up of the part of the carpels here. Sorry. Let's recall, I said this is the petals. Why? This is what the sepals, the stalk. This is what now? This stigma that receive pollen grain. This is the style. The swollen part here is the ovary. The ovary contains the ovules. contains what now? The ovules. The ovules is the end, the female reproductive gamete. Female reproductive gamete of plants is the ovules, and the ovules is found in the ovary. Ovary contains the ovules. And the arrangement of ovules in the ovary is called placentation. And the ovules connect to a stalk called the funicle. Funicle connects the ovule to the ovary. So the stigma contains what? Receive pollen grain, and the pollen grain enters through the pollen tube to fertilize what? The ovules by process called fertilization. By process called pollination. After pollination, what comes in is what? Fertilization. So let's recall, the stigma receives pollen grain from a pollen tube. The pollen tube contains the pollen tube transfer the pollen grain to fertilize the ovules. Immediately the ovules, mind you, ovules fertilize and change to seed. While the ovary change to what? Fruit. It's very what? JAMB like asking these questions. Thank you very much for listening. This is just the overview of what? The anatomy of the flowering plants. Now, let's continue the topics on reproduction in plants. So we are looking at placentation today. What is placentation? You keep wondering that how will plants possess placenta? Plants also have placenta, and that is where the ovaries of plant is attached to. So what is placentation? Placentation can be defined as the arrangement of ovules. The arrangement of what? Ovules in the what? In the ovary of what? In the ovaries, the arrangement of ovules, the arrangement of what? Ovules in the ovaries of what? Of plants. The arrangement of how ovule is arranged in the what? In the ovary is called placentation. So the ovule is arranged, the arrangement of ovules in an ovary is called placentation. The ovules are attached to a fleshy structure. That fleshy structure is called placenta. And to what? To the funicle. Funicle is what attaches, like this is the ovules. You understand? Attaching to the ovary through a slender stalk. This slender stalk is called the funicle. So what attaches the ovules to the ovary? Funicle. So the ovules is attached to the placenta of the plant by a slender stalk known as the funicle. So the ovules are arranged to the placenta, but to a slender stalk called what now? Funicles. So the ovules are attached to the placenta through a slender stalk called funicle. And don't forget that arrangement of ovules, look at, if you observe very well, ovules is the what? The reproductive gamete of plants that is located in the ovaries. Again, ovules, the reproductive gamete of plant, the female reproductive gamete of plant is located in the ovary and attaches to the ovary by a slender stalk called the funicle. So that arrangement of the ovules in the ovaries of plants, that arrangement is what is called placentation. So there are different ways in which ovules are attached to what? To the ovaries. So that's why we get the types of placentation. Number one, we have what is called, let me clean this. We have number one, what is called the exile placentation. What is exile placentation? Placentation is found in tomato. It's a type of placentation in which the ovules attaches to the syncarpous ovary at the center to form the placenta, and to form the placenta in which the ovule is attached to. So this type of placentation is found in what? In tomato. It's found in tomato. Take note. So what is the types of placentation in tomato? The types of placentation in tomato is what now? Axile placentation. What is axile placentation? In axile placentation, the syncarpous ovaries is found at the center to form the placenta to which the ovule is what? Attached to. That is number one. So we have number two. Number two is what now? The marginal placentation. So this is an example of the marginal placentation. This is the ovary. Ovary attaches to the follicle. Are you with me now? So in marginal placentations, the what? The ovules attach to one margin. Look at this is the end of the margin. It attaches to what? One margin of the ovaries. What is marginal placentation? Margin. I remember the song. Marginal placentation. Margin. That is the ovules attached. The ovules attached to one margin of the ovaries. It attached to one margin of the ovary. Example is found in Belonis regia. Belonis regia at what is called the marginal placentation. The number three is we have the free central placentation. What is free central placentation? In this placentation, the ovaries are borne on a knob to project what now? The ovaries. Do you understand? So the ovules are attached to one ovary which are borne on a knob which project to what now? To the ovaries. That is what the free central placentation is. Number four, let's look at the other placentation, which is called the parental placentation. In this type of placentation, the ovules, remember this, the ovules. In this type of placentation, the ovules are attached to the edges of the fusion point. Can you see the fusion point? The ovules are attached to the edges of the fusion point of the syncarpous ovary. Of what now? Of the syncarpous ovary. E.g. purple, e.g. the purple, e.g. purple. So what type of placentation is found in purple? Parental placentation is found in what? In purple. The last one we are going to look at is the basal placentation. Basal placentation is a type of placentation in which ovules attach to the base of syncarpous ovary. So basal, don't forget that this is still the follicle. You understand? So what is basal placentation? In this type of placentation, the ovules attach to the base of the syncarpous what? Ovary. So this type of placentation takes place in what now? In sunflower. Let me recall again. I said that the arrangement of ovules in an ovaries is called placentation, and the ovules is attached to the what? Ovary. Sorry, it's attached to the what now? Placenta, which a fleshy structure through a structure, a slender structure called the follicle. And we now have the types of placentation, which are the axile placentation, the marginal placentation, the free central placentation, the parental placentation, and we have the last one, which is what? The basal placentation. For exams, I will advise everybody preparing for UTME biology to study the types of what? Placentation. So we continue this in the next class. Thank you very much.